Hi everyone, I'm Tom. Depending on your age, there's a decent chance we were friends at some point online. Lately, I've been thinking about communication because it's one of the few things humanity has spent thousands of years improving and still hasn't fully figured out. We created language, writing, books, telephones, the internet, and social media, yet people still walk away from conversations feeling misunderstood. That made me wonder whether we've been solving the wrong problem. Recently, I was reading about something called the three-body problem. The basic idea is that once you introduce a third object into a system, prediction becomes dramatically more difficult. Not because anything is broken, but because relationships create complexity. The more I thought about it, the more it reminded me of communication. Every conversation has at least three moving parts. There is what I mean, there is what you hear, and then there is the context sitting invisibly between us. We spend most of our time focusing on the first two while completely overlooking the third. Think about how many disagreements start with two reasonable people who both believe they are communicating clearly. One person thinks they are solving a problem, while the other person is looking for support. One person thinks they are brainstorming, while the other thinks every idea is a commitment. One person thinks they are debating ideas, while the other feels personally attacked. Most communication failures are not actually disagreements. They are collisions between different expectations. The more I thought about that, the more it reminded me of a card game. Imagine four people sitting down at a table and nobody explains the rules. One person thinks aces are high, another thinks aces are low, someone thinks jokers are wild, and another person thinks they are playing a completely different game. Every player is acting logically. Every player believes they are following the rules. Yet the game becomes complete chaos because nobody agreed on house rules before the first card was dealt. That is when something clicked for me. Maybe communication has never been primarily a technology problem. Maybe it is a context problem. Maybe the reason social media became so powerful is because it accidentally created the first visible map of communication contexts. When I look back at the internet, I don't just see platforms. I see conversation types. LinkedIn feels like a business conversation. Facebook feels like a family and life update conversation. Instagram feels like a visual identity conversation. TikTok feels like a fun, energetic, experimental conversation. X feels like a debate conversation. And then there was MySpace, which looking back may have been the most interesting of all because it wasn't asking people to fit into a single category. It was essentially saying, bring your music, your ideas, your creativity, your humor, your ambition, your unfinished thoughts, and your curiosity. Everything is welcome. Everything is fair game. I don't think people loved MySpace because of profile songs or top 8 lists. I think people loved it because it gave them permission to be more than one thing at the same time. You weren't creating content as much as you were introducing yourself. Your serious side could exist next to your creative side. Your ambitions could exist next to your random thoughts. Your friendships could exist next to your dreams. Looking back, it felt less like a profile and more like a world. That realization led me to a simple question. What if we started identifying the type of conversation before the conversation begins? Imagine telling your spouse, "Can we have a Facebook conversation for a minute?" What you're really saying is that this is about life, relationships, and understanding. Imagine telling a business partner, "Let's have a LinkedIn conversation." Now everyone knows the goal is to solve a problem and make progress. Imagine telling a friend, "Can we have a MySpace conversation?" Now everyone understands that ideas are allowed to be unfinished. Nothing is a commitment, and all thoughts are welcome while we explore together. The moment you do that, something important happens. The invisible context becomes visible. Expectations become visible. Assumptions become visible. The rules become visible. And when the rules become visible, communication gets easier. Not because people changed, but because everyone finally understands what game they are playing. That is why this idea caught my attention. Not because it is about social media, it is about clarity. What I find interesting about the goods virtual world is that it is trying to create clarity frameworks like this one. Not by telling people what to think or how to communicate, but by creating simple ways for people to better understand themselves and better understand each other. The goal is not to replace the platforms we already use. The goal is to give people better maps so they can navigate conversations, relationships, and ideas with less confusion and more understanding. Every generation inherits the communication challenges of the generation before it. Most of the time, we accept those challenges as normal because they are familiar. But every once in a while, someone offers a new framework that makes something invisible suddenly become visible. I think context might be one of those things. Maybe the next breakthrough in communication will not come from a faster device, a smarter algorithm, or a bigger platform. Maybe it comes from something much simpler. Maybe it comes from helping people understand the room before the conversation begins. I'm Tom, and if this idea resonates with you, try it. The next time a conversation matters, tell the other person what kind of conversation you're inviting them into. You might be surprised how quickly understanding follows. After all, the best conversations were never about having the best cards. They were about knowing the game. You just got the goods from the goods.